have a co-host, Kyle Thompson, and a special guest, Mr. Jake Guso.
Thanks, guys. Nice to be here.
Did I say that right?
You did. Guso. Most people screw it up, but you got it right the first time.
All right. It
I
happens.
also get the Jake from State Farm at least twice a day.
Okay. So I laugh about names because my name is Daniel, and it's a very popular name since it's a Bible name, and I hate it. So there's a guy I work with, and his name is Daniel too. I just call him by his last name because I hate saying my name. So because I hear my name all the time, so it's just one of those things. So Jake from State Farm, or I hear the damn Daniel. I hear that one all the time, and I'm just like, ugh. All right, whatever. So we're here with Jake with State Farm, and can you give us a 30-second elevator pitch, and we're going to jump right into it, just so people know who you are and what you do.
So I'm the co-founder and currently the CEO of Rig Hut, which is a piece of property management software that's purpose-built for semi-truck parking applications. So we help landlords automate and manage their inventory, invoicing, billing, payments, driver communications, things like that.
Amazing. I wanted to have you on because if you didn't know, I was an ex-truck driver who's now.
I did know that.
So I wanted to talk real estate and truck parking and the need for truck parking and all the good stuff. But I think it's very interesting. The space, we actually had an opportunity to turn some land into some truck parking, and then we ended up losing the deal. But there's more deals out there, so we're gonna make it work either way. But let's talk about how did you get into truck parking as a real estate guy? Because I know how I got into real estate. You kind of went backwards.
Yeah. So, I've spent the entirety of my career in the real estate business, right? And that's kind of the lens from which I view most opportunities. The first opportunity that we saw in truck parking, or that we identified and kind of wanted to go after, was buying, building, operating these truck parking facilities from an actual, ownership and management perspective down here in South Florida. So if you look at South Florida from an aerial, right, on a map, we've got the Everglades on the west side, we've got the Atlantic on the east side. It's very much a, not in my backyard type of community. There's very little land that's appropriately zoned for truck parking. And we started driving around looking at sites, right? And we saw a huge price disparity. Some guys were charging X, some guys were charging 2X. And we just saw, we thought we had an opportunity to capture a lot of that market discrepancy. So the first thing we did was we spun up a management company, right? We were like, hey, let's go learn this business with boots on the ground management, the hard way. So we started knocking on some trailer doors of landlords down here in South Florida. We got thrown out of a bunch of them, but we convinced one guy to give us a shot. And basically what we told him was we'll guarantee you more or less your current revenue. So he was at somewhere in the neighborhood of $450 a month average rent. And we thought we could take him to 500 or 525. I don't remember exactly what we pitched him. And he bit, right? And we did it. And we thought we were going to lose a bunch of drivers in that first month, because we basically gave him 7 days notice. And we said, hey, your rate's going from this to that. We thought a bunch of them were going to turn, and they didn't. To our surprise, I think we lost 3 guys, maybe 4 guys, and we backfilled them in the same month. So that guy was very happy. We built that, kind of management gig where we were boots on the ground, showing drivers where to park, sending license agreements, sending QuickBooks invoices, writing down what spot you're in Excel. And my co-founder, Jose's got a software and technical background. So we started building some systems behind that, and it evolved into what Rig Hut is today.
Awesome. What year was that?
That was end of 20 was when we started looking at it.
Okay. So 2021 is you're 3 years in.
Yeah.
Now,
you're in commercial, right?
Yes. Commercial. Yeah, primarily retail down here in South Florida.
Okay, so 3 years into this game, how many of things do you managing for, or how many clients you kind of work with versus how many spots that is? Because I know each thing's gonna get a different amount of truck spots. So how many you have what's your AUM now?
So we don't manage anything anymore. I should clarify that. We converted everybody to the software model, but we've got 111 facilities.
How many? 37?
111 operating on the platform. So Most of the customers that get utility from Rig Hut are either portfolio operators or they've got like one fairly large facility. I think our smallest yard right now is 36 parking spaces or so, but our average is probably over 100 in terms of quantity of spaces per facility. So we've been able to build some, a good critical mass. We're happy with the progress so far, and we'll keep adding more.
111 is amazing. Congratulations! I want to say that.
Thank you.
That's no small feat. And I love the model because, like I said, there's such a need for it. Now, I want to hit on a tone where you said there's not much inventory for truck parking. I want to kind of hit on that tone because this is us as land people. Let's go down that path.
Yeah.
So, I know when I was in truck driving, I lived in Atlanta, and there was only one yard that was within 30 minutes of me, and it was $250 a month. And it was terrible. But I had no choice, and I had to pay whatever it was, and I had to go wherever I had to go because I had no other opportunity. And I think this is where you had the price discrepancy thing, is there's no other choice to go if you want a permanent spot. So
what year was that?
2018.
Yeah. So pre-craze, right? Like now it seems everybody's, kind of in the truck parking business or iOS, launching a fund, trying to buy and build them. There's a lot more presence, but yeah, I wasn't in the business back then. But even if you look at like 2020 or 2021, when we started looking at these things to now, like just go on Google and type truck parking, there's at least 10 times more results than there was when we first started.
Now, is there a saturation level you're reaching, or is there still plenty of opportunity?
I don't think so. I mean, everywhere where we have a presence, right, we try to provide a really high degree of service to our customer, which is the landlord, right? Our customer is the landlord, not the driver. But by association, we provide a high degree of service to the driver, because if they call us, we want to keep them happy. We want to keep them in our customer's yard.
Absolutely.
That. And it just so happens that we get some calls from drivers that are looking for space. Our number just gets sent around these communities, and our phone rings off the hook during the day with drivers looking for space. I mean, in pretty much every market, I couldn't name one that I could say, this place is crickets.
Do you know what your occupancy rate is, that your stuff that you're managing?
On average, I couldn't tell you, but take places like Miami and Broward County, it's effectively 100%, right? Like there's some churn, but they get backfilled very fast.
Yeah, that's the thing about trucking. No matter, this is truck parking. This is so crazy. This is why I want to have this conversation. If somebody left the yard, somebody was there taking that dude's spot. Like there was a wait list to get his spot.
Yeah, especially if you're well located, right? Or you need to be in a certain area.
Absolutely.
So I think there's still a ton of opportunity.
I agree.
Yeah.
And this is from I'm now into real estate, and I just knew there was such a problem with the counties were very sparing giving out zoning for this, and there's just not much space for it in the right locations because they don't want trucking in residential areas. You have to have some type of commercial zoning, and that you need a variance to get light industrial. Like it has like its own specialty troubleshooting to solve the problem, and there's just so much need for it. It's everywhere.
It is. It's tough for sure. What we've seen some municipalities implement is, if they're vague in their zoning code, like it doesn't say, truck parking is allowed in zonings X, Y, and Z. A lot of people will try it, and then what we've seen municipalities come back and say is like, okay, we can't ban truck parking, but what they're trying to do is only allow it as an ancillary use to the primary business occupying a building, for example. Which doesn't really help, right? Because
no, it doesn't help.
You're not providing any parking for the owner operator or the small, regional local kind of guy that doesn't occupy that property already.
Yeah, it's so the municipalities they fight it, and then you have to go through the light. It's like light industrial zoning. Is that everywhere? Right? But if you know by chance,
if I were to give a blanket statement, I'd just say industrial zoning. Commercial typically doesn't work. If you're backing up to, like, even if you're industrially zoned or you think you can get it zoned industrial, if you're backing up to a residential area, it's tough. But industrial in general. Yeah,
it's such a need, and like I said, I'm gonna create one eventually, just because I come across so much land, and it's gonna happen, and I'm gonna make it happen just for fun, just for kicks and giggles, because I'm I'm an ex-truck driver. So we're going to have a conversation soon. I don't know when, but it's going to happen. I already foresee it, which is why we're having this conversation. But
I'm curious if you could get something done outside of a municipality, right? Like, I'm not, this is going to sound like an ignorant statement, but aren't there certain municipalities in Texas where they're more loosey-goosey as to what you can do and get approved?
So this is a great question, and I'm going to answer it. So you have what's called the ETJ, which is your jurisdiction. I always forget the first word, but it's your jurisdiction, your city jurisdiction. You can be within the jurisdiction or outside the jurisdiction. So like main markets like Atlanta, Texas, whatever, you're going to have everything in a populated area is going to have its own ETJ, and their ETJs are going to rub up against each other. But once you hit like rural, you're outside the ETJ, you probably don't have to fall under that certain parameter. You can kind of do whatever you want. But it's probably going to have to be outside the ETJ, and hopefully you get grandfathered in, and when they bring you in, you don't have to.
Sure.
Whenever the city expands into your area, you don't have to deal with it. Go ahead, Kyle.
Has a new law where, for the most part, you can get removed from any city ETJ. There's a couple of rules, but they've definitely gotten super loose on it because counties are very, very more favorable in regards to approving stuff, and obviously in the more rural parts, they're promoting development and stuff like that. So that's why we're working on one right now. That's an entitlement. We're going to be removed from the city ETJ of city of San Antonio because we want to go county because we know they're going to be more loose and they're not going to be as strict when it comes to potential development.
Got it.
Yeah. So my advice is anybody listening to this that wants to get into truck parking, I would find something outside the ETJ.
Yep.
Whatever local ETJ your municipality you're in.
Of the city or something, wherever your nearest city is. And you have some like sub-cities too, so you got to make sure you're not a part of any ETJ.
And that's
interesting.
That's going to be the trick. So that's
and you guys are looking at rural pieces all the time, right? I know I'm supposed to be answering the questions, but tell me a little bit about what you guys do.
That's all we do is stuff outside the ETJ in most cases. We're usually doing with rural, vacant, large land. And I have that. Jesse's deal might be a good deal we can lease if we sell it to him.
That is true. That's a good little spot that's like expanding that way.
So I have a deal right now that could be potentially truck parking. It's 50 acres of commercial between Houston and San Antonio off that little corridor. And it's probably an hour outside of San Antonio.
I just met a guy that has a yard there. He runs it as an RV storage facility, and he's interested in converting a pad. I think he's got like a 1 or 2 acre out parcel that he wanted to do like overnight parking on. I could connect you to. I don't know if you think that would be helpful.
Hey, let's do it. I'm always down for connections. So let's talk about revenues, because I know you're kind of on the software side, but you know this stuff because you manage it. So what's the max you've seen for a truck parking, and what's the minimum you've seen? Because when I was paying, it was $150.
Minimum is free, right? There's some guys that'll let you park for free. Max.
What do they sell you? Nothing is for free. You got to use their truck. You got to use their mechanic or something.
I have no idea, but there's some guys that give it away for free. You can even still get free parking at some of the major truck stops, right? Like what we're seeing now is, say a truck stop's got 30 spaces, they'll make 10 paid, 20 unpaid. Most expensive. So let me start with this. Most expensive on our platform is North New Jersey, $850 a month, right outside Port Newark. Wow. We've seen some yards quoting $1,100 a month. This was like peak pandemic over outside of Port Long Beach, but I don't know whether they were actually achieving those rates or not. Most expensive rate that I can verify is $850 a month, Port Newark.
That is crazy, and cheap would be free. So you brought up a really good point. So truck stops do have free parking since they have paid preferred spots, whatever. Are you working with truck stops themselves as well?
Not yet. There's actually good timing because there's been a big debate in my Twitter sphere today. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but there's a bit of an uproar in the driver community today about paid parking and whether it should be paid or unpaid. And it's kind of, I think paid parking is what's driving development for these sites, right? And ultimately that's alleviating the supply-demand imbalance.
So I have an opinion about this because I was a truck driver. So this is my expense, and I did not see the debate. I try and avoid trucking topics as a whole. So when I came across you, I was like, okay, this is a little bit realistic. I can kind of blur the lines a little bit.
Sure.
But I try to avoid trucking like Twitter feeds, TikToks, because once I start getting it, it starts coming in, and I'm just like, I avoided this for a reason.
It can be a little combative.
the trucking space is very abrasive, and you dealing with truck drivers is probably the worst part of your job.
Look, it's honestly not, because we just try to be, this is my theory with everything. Just be a normal person, man. Let's have a conversation. If there's an issue, like, we'll relay it. We'll try to work something out. We, like I said in the beginning, we try to provide a really high degree of service to the drivers by association to the landlord. So we want to keep them in the yard.
I gotcha. Okay, so here's my 2 cents on paid parking, because I've done both. I've had to pay for parking, and I always tried not to pay when I was driving. So if you're a local driver, I 100% agree you should have a local parking spot, especially if you have the truck. If you're owner operator, you need to find your own truck parking spot, and I think that 100% should be paid. Now, truck stops in major metros, it's hit or miss, because I think they should provide free parking, because parking is such a major issue there. And if they're providing gas and other services, I think they make money in other ways just by providing main basic services, like, because this is the whole QT model and whatever. They provide food, entertainment, AC, showers, all these things, amenities, and they got free parking. So I like that model better. But if they're not providing amenities or anything like that, I don't know. It's hit or miss. But I hated paying parking. I never paid for parking. I was that truck driver that I was cheap, because I was an owner operator. So I was like, every dollar spent was money from my bottom line. So I used to park, drive, pull over. I'd be the dude parked on the ramp.
Right, on the ramp.
That was me, because I was cheap.
So I think that's just cost benefit analysis, right? If you, in your case, I think the answer was no, but would most people be willing to pay $20, $25, $30 if you're in a major MSA to know that you have a space and a safe place where you can get diesel, you can go inside, have a meal? Like, I think they would. And like I said, the revenue is what's driving the development of truck parking. So if you really want to make an impact, right, there has to be some incentive for the guys that are going to put up the risk and spend their time building them.
I agree. My whole thing with trucking, this is why I got out of the business, is because I got cleaned out by trucking. That's why, honest to God, why I left. Trucking cleaned me out, because the rates and pay wasn't there to even support. Like, it's a tough business. Like, trucking is a tough business,
right,
in general. So I think it made it harder for me to pay for parking, to even justify paying for it, no matter what it came with, because I had a bottom line of taking care of my family.
100%.
I put myself in the bottom line over everything else,
Right.
So
now you're buying ranches, so it turned out okay.
It turned out okay for me, but I still think about that my past driver, because I had like 10 drivers at one point when I was running the business. So I still think I had to put myself in their position when I was there. And like, sometimes I had to buy hotels, and sometimes you pay for parking, sometimes you pay tolls, and you have to kind of take on that part of the business just because it was part of the business.
I think it's just got to become, this is my opinion, obviously, but I think it's just got to become normalized. It's got to be blended into the rates, right?
I agree.
You guys need to be charging enough to pay for parking.
Yeah, I agree. And that's where I'm at. If we got better rates, and this is why I'm not even in the business anymore. If they got better rates, I think it's okay and it's justified, and I think it would bring more. It would feed the ecosystem better, because what's you have the regular individuals like, oh, there's trucks everywhere, they're parking everywhere, and I'm like, put yourself in their shoes. They have no choice.
Not only put yourself in their shoes, but like, you want your bark
Good
box
services
delivered next day for your puppy. Like, you need the trucks.
Right. Yeah, you want the goods and services overnight. You gotta pay in some way, some inconvenience, and it is what it is. Kyle, you have a question, because I've been talking for the last 10 minutes.
I just wanted to ask Jake, how did you transition from doing retail, like commercial retail, to getting into trucking? Like, what was that transition like?
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of been like, it's gonna sound cliche, but in my mind is very entrepreneurial, right? So I'm always kind of looking at different opportunities. I started my first like little business before I could drive. I was cleaning boats. We built a business in college. So real estate's always been a passion for me. I really enjoy that business. I like anything to do with real estate. I like a bunch of different facets that I won't go down. But I was in the world of real estate, right? And I was kind of presented with a bunch of different opportunities. Some of them I took, some of them I didn't. I'll say truck parking was the first opportunity ever that was presented to me. And I said, wow, this could be enormous. And I just jumped ship and pursued it.
That's awesome, man. That's the same way I felt with land moving from.
I think what you guys do is super interesting. I don't really understand all the complexities of it, but that's what I was asking earlier. Can you explain to me your business model other than like, buy by the bottle, sell by the shot? Give me a little more meat than that.
I do that, but I provide financing.
Okay. So you're a credit card company too.
Well, so think of like the used car market. The used car market, they churn inventory because it's no one can really afford it at that price point. But we're dealing with higher price valuations. So like we're the used car market of land. So we buy, seller finance, because think about this. You get 100 acres, 10,000 acres, it's $1 million. How many people can afford $1 million piece of land?
Few.
There's a few, but very few people. But if you cut it down into 10 acre tracts and sell it for 20 grand down,
so you're getting seller financing on the buy, and then you're seller financing the exit as well. Is that correct?
We do sometimes cash, sometimes both. But sometimes when you buy by the gallon and sell by the shot, you create an arbitrage of pricing. So
right.
You can afford to do that, and then we do part of the note game. So we create debt and sell debt.
Got it. But how does your seller get made whole? Right. I assume if he's seller financing your purchase, there's some sort of like sale clause or.
Well, sometimes we have to sell the notes to pay off the seller.
Got it.
Or cash sales. Because like our whole business model, we're looking for 2x plays. So if we're buying that 100 acre farm for 10,000 acres and it's $1 million, we're looking at a projected exit of 2. Sure. So we only need to sell 5 ranches to cover the purchase price, and the rest is profit. So if I can sell 5 of those seller finance, I'm gonna have to discount the paper to sell them, but I still have equity to play with.
And who in that example, who's like your typical buyer on the 10 acre piece? Is it like a primary residence?
It's everybody. It's investors, it's buy and holders, it's people that are looking to build truck parking. It's people that are looking to sit on it for 10 years and just land bank it and turn it.
Anyone that's just buying land, custom home builder, it could be literally anyone, just something random. It doesn't matter. There's buyers everywhere. I heard someone say this. They're putting ads out. They're doing what we're doing in Colorado, and they're putting ads in like Kansas City. And there's people moving from Kansas City to Colorado just to get a piece of 10 acres to put a house on. I'm like, there's buyers everywhere for it, and that's what we love about it. It's like everyone. There's like almost like a cultural shift happening, where like people kind of want some more land, want to kind of relax from that city lifestyle, and it seems to be that shift.
Well, that's why I ask.
This could be hunting too. Hunting.
Yeah.
I've seen that shift too, right? Like my generation, I'm 28. I grew up in Miami. A lot of my peers have left, right? Because they're priced out or, they want to go live in more of a rural setting, right? And then if you look at my parents' generation, so my dad is 60, right? So that generation, they're also moving out because they want a slower, pace of life. So if you look at the press, it's always like, oh, Florida, tremendous net migration, blah, blah, blah. Number 1 state, number 2 state, us in Texas, always. But if you look at Miami-Dade, right, which is us, and Monroe County, which is the Keys, it's one of the highest net migration losses in the country, right?
Yeah.
And that's a combination of people being priced out, right, and looking for more of a rural setting. My thing is fishing and hunting. So, working is a means to an end for me. I enjoy what I do. I love it. But I do also, I'm part of that group that would move to more of a rural setting. But I was just curious. So would you say more or less than half of your end buyers are users or some sort of investor or like recreational property?
I'd say it's 50-50. 50 recreational 50-50. And 50 investor type holder, builder, add value, add person.
Got it.
50-50. But yeah, it's hit or miss. But everybody wants land, but land's getting more expensive, so they're trying to control whatever they can afford. So
you guys have to give them utilities? Like in that same scenario, 100 acre, you divvy it up into 10 10s. Mm-hmm. Do you guys have to feed each of those properties with power, water, sewer, or septic?
It depends. Septic can fit on anything over 3/4 acres. So we never even talk about sewer or septic because every lot can have septic. Water, most of the time we research it to, if somebody wants it, we already know who to call, whether they need to drill a well or if you need to connect to the water line. So some
it depends on the deal. But some cases, we'll pay for the water study and the application and get their taps for them, because it typically sells better too when you're like, hey, we got a meter for you set up. We got electric for you set up. You want to come in and dump a mobile home, or come and build your custom home, like it's ready. And a lot of times it can move quicker that way. It just
how fast do you guys typically close on your exit, like to the end user?
Our projects are usually like, we have some quick deals that move quick, but most of our stuff's like 3 to 9 months.
Got it. That's not that slow. I mean, you see some stuff down here that takes years, 12, 18 months.
It depends what the strategy is. So we flip, so we buy low, sell high. We value add, that might be subdividing. We buy big and create more inventory,
right?
Or we'll entitle. Entitle is usually our last bucket, which we try not to do. We're trying to do more of that quick stuff, and then we'll do like an entitlement deal every once in a while. So we have like 180 lot housing community we're working on. We have another one that could be like 400 lots. How big is your deal? The one you got? That could be like 400 lots, right?
If you can get a sewer access, we could probably do about 400 homes, and it's less acreage than the other one he was just talking about too.
Just because you got higher density and we have access to sewer. So, and that one we are in the ETJ, so we're kind of breaking our stuff. But our bread and butter is stuff outside county, stuff outside the city, in the path of progress that people are looking to. And we don't mess with like desert or the middle of nowhere properties. We like buying just outside of the city. So we think of like
on the edges.
The edges. We're feeding on. We get a lot of inventory on the edges. That's
you keep any of them? We
have. It's a churn process, man. We own like 400 acres right now, but we're selling them.
Sure.
it's you own it, you sell it, you own it, you sell it, you own it, you sell it, finance it.
Sure.
Like I one of my things is I'd rather own payments on dirt than the actual dirt.
I'd agree with that.
I get paid to hold it, so
sure.
why hold it and not get paid to do it? So
interesting business.
It's a very interesting business. We're wheeling, dealing, and we're just moving. But it's a fun business. But we have fun.
How'd you go from trucking to that? Or was there a gap in between there somewhere?
I fell into it. It was a straight pivot from trucking. I was going down the trucking route. I literally ran it to the ground just because if I didn't, I wouldn't I didn't go all in. I'm all in, just like you're all in Rig Hut. I'm all in. I went all in till right into the ground, and then I was looking like, okay. When I started hitting the brakes, I was like, okay, I got to find something to pivot into. And I heard about real estate and kind of went down that, and I'm in real estate.
Well, good for you. It takes stones.
Oh yeah, it definitely does. Definitely does. But it was a fun journey, and I think it's I'm always looking back at like truck drivers that they can really do whatever they want. They just don't know what they don't have a future set for themselves besides trucking.
Sure.
Most people see themselves doing that forever. But I was looking for a quick exit. But beyond the point, I always know the need for truck parking just because I went through it, and it's painful. It's painful when you're in it. So let's talk about your products and services, what you're doing for the driver / landlord, and what kind of includes with your software. Just kind of help me better understand.
Yeah. So Rig Hut at its sort of basic form is just a software, right? So landlords get access to a portal with a dashboard where we populate KPIs that are automatically updated based on platform activity, occupancy, vacancy, revenue metrics, things like that. We automate the inventory management process, right? So what that means is instead of a driver coming in and asking you for parking and then you quote them a price, you show them where to park or give them a space number, our system does all of that, right? So as long as we have 100% of the yard's capacity up front, the entire parking spot assignment and vacancy process is automated, right? So if you come in and you create a request for 5 truck and trailer spaces, right? Our system will check that landlord's inventory. If it's available, we assign the spaces based on chronological order, and we give them access instructions however the landlord, decides to give them access. In terms of billing and payments, most of our customers use the auto pay feature, right? So they require most drivers to go on auto pay for monthly parking. Mm-hmm. We do give landlords the ability to accept what we call offline payments. If you've got a large customer that's going to send you a wire, ACH transfer, you can still put that customer into the RigHut system, manage that relationship from there, and record the payments offline. It's got built-in reporting for revenues and accounts receivable. Think of any property management software that you would use. It's just purpose built for truck parking. So it's got some unique things where you can relocate parking spaces with a couple clicks. You can change rates with a couple clicks, change quantities. We accommodate daily reservations, obviously, so short-term nature stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's cool.
And then on top of that, so the software is kind of like the base package, right? We're rolling out our AGS, automated gate system, this month. So we'll be able to grant drivers access to facilities that participate in our AGS program without getting out of the truck. They'll be able to open the gate from their phone. Wow. So that's tech. And then on top of that, if a landlord wants an additional level of service, right? Like some guys sign up with this that have either many facilities, more than 6, or they've got one really large yard, is they'll sign up for our receivables service, which is basically we leverage our existing customer support team to act as a landlord's receivables agent. So once a driver gets past the grace period, if there's a payment failure, our team is the one responsible for calling those drivers and figuring out how to get them paid up.
Wow. So it's property management. It's asset management at this point. That's pretty cool.
Sort of. Someone else the other day called it remote management, which I guess you could say it might be if you're engaged in the receivables component of the business, but a lot of it's automated, right? I mean, if you sign up on the platform and you're operating a facility, you're not really looking at it all that much. You're looking at the beginning and the end of the month. In the middle of the month, you're not really doing too much.
Are you the only one in the marketplace that's doing this right now?
No. Well, there's a lot of guys doing the truck parking marketplace thing, right? Like the facilitating driver to space transaction. We don't play in that space. Like it comes as part of RigHut, but that's not the core functionality. Truck Parking Club does a great job with that stuff. I don't know if you've talked to those guys, but they're, good marketers and they seem to drive a lot of traffic to landlords. And then, there's some other guys playing the marketplace game. There's only one other guy that I know of that's building parking management software for semi-trucks. I've never met him. I don't really know anyone that uses it so far, but that's the only one that we've encountered.
That's amazing. I think you're very early on in the market. You can definitely control the market share. I think you've had huge success very quickly off of that, just because you're the first to market.
Not quickly, but thank you.
No. I mean, it's very commendable. How are you protecting yourself on the copycat trademark?
Look, people are going to copy us. I know that. We actually had a guy. The only time I've ever, been upset at something like this, because look, my theory with this is, and I tell some guys that are thinking about launching startups that are worried about the copycat thing, is ideas are a dime a dozen, right? The execution is really what's going to separate you. So I almost dare anyone to, try to replicate this to the degree that we have, and the relationships that we have are so ingrained at this point that it would be very hard. But I do have a problem with someone that, pretended to be a prospect of ours. And we did a demo and we sent him a recording. And then we later found out that he was trying to launch a competitor. Like, that's the only thing that I have an issue with. But other than that, I mean, good luck.
So I have the same analogy with what we do, because what we do is very, like, people do what we do, but they don't do it what we do.
Right. Like, it sounds great. Yeah, I buy land 100 acres, I split it up, and I sell 10 acre pieces. Sounds really easy. And I would say the same thing. Good luck.
Good luck copying it.
Yeah.
I definitely have that same thought process, but it's really cool. I love the mindset about it, because you definitely have a great idea, and I think it's very needed in the marketplace as a whole. Have you thought about adding I think you said marketplace feature where you get referrals or inbound leads to help your landlords even more? Because if you have overnight parking in 111 locations, now you're building your own little mesh network of essentially overnight parking yourself?
We're trying to do one thing really well.
Okay.
Right? So I'd rather be the number one truck parking management software provider than be, 2 or 3 at a couple of different things. So I see a world in the future where, platforms like ours and the inevitable competitors that will come out, they will come out, and I think it's good for the industry.
Oh yeah.
Where those like PM systems can kind of sit as like a middle layer and use all the other marketplaces to drive traffic, right? Because if you look at any other traditional real estate asset class, it's like if you have a vacancy, that thing's on multiple marketplaces because you want to get as many eyeballs on that property as you possibly can.
Absolutely.
But when you're managing that property with the vacancy, you're doing it with a completely separate platform, right? You're doing that with a Yardi, a Buildium, an Appfolio kind of software, and that's what we are.
I gotcha. No, it's really cool. You got another question, Kyle? I've been taking on this whole conversation.
You're good. No, it's a lot of value. What were some of the struggles that you kind of encountered when you guys first started the software? Like, as far as
he's gonna pull out a list.
Filing cabinet. But no, just some of just outlining a few like major ones that come to your mind quickly. Just as a software company.
I mean, the changes evolve, right? So when we first made the true pivot to software, it was really hard to find these facilities at the scale you need to sell an affordable product, right? Like our product starts at $249 a month. You've got to sell a lot of licenses to make money, right? Sell a lot of licenses, you got to get in front of a lot of people. It's very hard to get in front of a lot of people in truck parking, especially 3 years ago. So I would say that was probably our original biggest challenge. And the way we solved that was, one, cold calling, obviously, but it wasn't how it is today where it's a little more standardized. We would literally fly around on Google Maps and get on Street View and see if there was a phone number. And if there was no phone number, we'd call the neighbor and see if the neighbor had a phone number. And if anyone told us they were willing to meet with us anywhere in the country, we were on a plane the next day to go and meet with them. That was kind of the first challenge. And then as the technology evolves, right? Like I'm non-technical. I told you I spent my whole career in the real estate business. So there was definitely a learning curve there in terms of architecture and the priority in which we should build products. So it's always going to have challenges, right? They're unique and interesting and it's part of the fun, but those are, two that I would highlight.
Have you bootstrapped this or did you take outside funding?
We bootstrapped it originally, which kind of got us off the ground. We partnered with some guys out of New York who have been incredible partners for us. The company name is Risk Ventures, Risk with a Z. They operate in kind of two different playgrounds. One is real estate, one is technology. In one of their real estate businesses, they built like secondary and tertiary market self-storage owner-operator, and they kind of pioneered the unmanned self-storage model. So they don't have full-time staff at any of their locations. They have some rovers, and then they build technology to automate the rest of the process.
Amazing. So you're hand in hand right there.
Yeah. So we felt that was a really, appropriate fit, and that's the direction that we see truck parking going. So that's been a great relationship. That's
huge. That's a really strategic partnership for sure.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, the automated technology space, I see it's a very, I'm telling you, trucking needed it. Let me tell you this. My truck parking, when I was doing it, if I got there after business hours, I had to unlock the chain, roll in, lock the chain.
There's still some yards like that. There's a yard like that one of our customers has in, where's this one? In Broward. Still manual gate. It's not a chain lock. It's like the ones that are like a stretchy kind of, I don't know, cord cable with a combo lock. Combo lock on the end.
Oh man, it was such a pain. I hated going. Like I literally hated. This is why I don't talk about trucking. Like I have like a bad taste in my mouth. PTSD. I got PTSD from trucking, but I think it's funny. I think we're gonna end it here. This is what's a quote that is yours or somebody else's that you resonate with?
Quote?
Yes, curveball.
The only time success comes before work is in the dictionary.
Oh.
I don't know who said that, but I've had that quote my whole life in my head.
There you go. That's good. Where can people find you online? I got therighut.com and you are Rig Hut Trucking on Twitter. And where can people else find you online?
Online and Twitter I mean, if you want to email us, it's info@therighut.com, but find us on Twitter. It's @truckpark_king. Or call me. I mean, my cell's everywhere.
All right. Don't call him. Delete his number in like a year. He's going to delete his number. For everybody here, thanks for coming again. Thank you, Jake, for coming on.
Thank
Kyle,
you, guys.
for coming on. For everybody here, go like, share, subscribe. You know what to do. We'll see you in the next episode. This has been a blast. Thanks, guys.
If you like this video, go like, subscribe, and please follow us for more informational content.